Okay, hi everybody, it's me, Balkanite 22. It's Saturday, you know what that means. Okay, so Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War. This was episode 24, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Even though it says 9, or 12 or 11 or God knows what it is. Yeah, episode 11, which is, you know, 24. Um, so this one was called Too Early to Win, Too Late to Know. Now, pretty much this was the Royal Palace. This was the majority of the episode. We had a small snippet during the episode of Ichigo, Orihime, Chad, Yorichi, and Ganju. It's always funny to see Ganju, he's like, yeah. Anyway, the episode, however, starts differently. We get another anime only scene. As far as I know. Because I know for a fact this was not in the manga. The scene in question is in black and white. It's Ichibei of the Royal Guard having negotiations with Yuha, who looks exactly like Old Man Nanzuke, which is to be expected because that is who Yuha is. He is, what have you, the same person. Anyway, the conversation is basically about negotiations in regards to the Quincy's and Soul Reapers and the three worlds, the three worlds being the world living, Soul Society, and Recomundo. And Yuha basically, this is anime only, so I gotta talk about this, saying how he's not a child, he's not a baby, so on and so forth. And he kind of attacks Ichibei. And Ichibei was able to draw the hand of the Soul King out of nowhere and pushes him away. And then those eyes appear on Yuha's eyes, the two pupils, and they disappear. And he kind of deflects and attacks a few of these Quincy's that are in the room, and then he leaves. Now, the conversation does bring up the fact that in Yuha's way, that the Soul King is his father. But this conversation happens, and then after that, we go back to the present. This was kind of weird because there was never any connective tissue in the manga explaining any kind of thing that Yuha had with the Royal Guard. So it's interesting to see this happen in the anime because it connects. This scene connects to the episode, which gives us some details to a certain extent. Now, we go to the episode properly, and basically, as I told you, there's a scene with Ichigo, Chad, Orihime, Yorichi, and Ganju going up. It's small, nothing really comes out of it. She just brings up the past about Uryu and all that stupid crap. We go back to the Royal Guard, the Royal Palace, and they arrive. Yuha, Haschwald, and Uryu. Now, Yuha obviously has animosity towards them, to the Royal Guard. But surprisingly enough, he brought his own Royal Guard. Okay. The four he brings are Pernita, C, Barlow. That one I forgot his I believe X. Valkyrie, but I don't remember his letter. And of course, the guy that belongs in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Say that. Askin. His part in the whole scheme of things in the story with the final arc with the Blood War later on. He has a moment. He has a fight later on. So those four show up and end up fighting the Weaver. That's the Royal Guard member who has the long hands. She's sort of like the. I like to say, to some extent, I like to call her the female Mayuri. So the female version of Mayuri, Kurosuchi, because she does feel like that. He also has another Sternritter there, Yuha. W has some kind of wind thing, bends reality. Yeah, she kills him, like not that quick. When he was talking and jobbing, she used her needle to carve something in him, and needles come out of his body, and he's dead. Moving on. Then she fights the other guys, and it seems like they kill, her, but it was an illusion. And what's going on really is they're in a womb of this wood structure, and Korenji shows up. Obey, the guy who makes the Zanbakutos. I probably said his name incorrectly. I'm sorry. And the one that fed Ichigo and Renji. They all show up. And up on the top is Ichibei. So they fight these four. It's a contest. It's really embarrassing when the Valkyrie guy, Pernita, Askin, and Baro just get old. Now, surprisingly enough, I don't want to mention this. I'm not going to mention too much about it. I don't want to just spoil here what the fate is for most of them, because that, spoil territories. I don't want to spoil the anime only, but they get taken care of pretty easily. Now, Yuha, he avoids this. He has this little pendant that he throws, and he's able to transport himself right in front of Ichibei. And I like the line that Ichibei says is that to Yuha, don't say my name so lightly. I was like, oh yeah, it's good. And that's where the episode ends, more or less. Yeah, so that's pretty much what transpired. So really, I don't have much to add with this episode. I mean, we got 2 more next week, and then that's it. Now, I did some thinking around, and this is what I've determined. We have 2 more seasons. Yes, you heard me correctly. If my counting is correct, we have 2 more seasons of Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War. After that, the show will end, pretty much. But at least that's from my understanding. But pretty much this was, it was more of an episode concerning Yuha and Ichibei. I found to be more concerning with those two. You could see the animosity with Yuha on Ichibei in that flashback, and now you translate it into the present, them colliding with each other. Now, most of these sternritters are like, it's one of those things. I should also mention they took out this giant guy. Most of them they've been good. I'm not throwing shade at these guys. Most of them are decent enough. The ones that were with Yuha, I will say this much. Majority of them get their time to shine. To a certain extent, they get their time to shine. So it should be interesting as we go forward. Now, I'm not 100% sure how this is going to end. I have my theories because confidentially, there is a moment when they catch up. I don't want to spoil, but I don't want to spoil. I don't want to, go into too many spoiler territories here. And that's hard too much actually. But with there only being 2 more episodes, and next week's going to be called The Master. This is basically going to be Ichibei fighting Yuha, and all that in betweens. But like I said, we're going to get 2 episodes. So next week I have to do episode 25 review, and I got to do episode 26 review. Just like how we did last season, when it was episode 12 and episode 13. But like I said, I would say this gets... I'm not going to go crazy and give this a 10 out of 10. I found it to be paced decently. I would say 9 out of 10. I would give it a 10 out of 10 if there was more to really talk about and really dissect. But really, there's really nothing. It's just they show up, they have their fight, blah, 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 blah. But I will say I do think what they're doing here makes sense. You add a scene. This is what needs to be done, in my opinion. You add a scene to connect Ichibei, Yuha, from the past to the present, and so people can say, oh, wow, okay, this means something, and so on and so forth. Now, my personal thing is this. As someone who's read the manga, who has reviewed the final arc, I have this to say to Kubo and to the people at Studio Period. Please, make sure that what Ichigo went through with his training, that whole scene when he's going through that corridor, that has to mean something. In my opinion, that has to mean something. You can't just say, oh yeah, he did this training, blah, 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 and then we go through the arc and it's the same as usual. Because I know what happens with the whole fight with Ichigo and Yuha, and frankly, this scene with him going through the corridor and seeing flashes of scenes with the Soul King, that has to mean something. It must mean something to Ichigo, and it must mean something to bring him to a point with Yuha Bak when he eventually fights him that isn't the same bullcrap. That's my opinion, though. But overall, I like what was the story we got here. Connection, Ichibei, Yuha. We got 2 more episodes, people. Now, I want to say spring. That's when we'll get the next Bleach thing. I'm just throwing to the wall here because we've had the first season in the fall. We've had the second season in the summer. And if you think about that, that's a span of 2 seasons. So the same thing will probably happen. We got this in the summer. The next one will probably come out next spring. Hopefully. But this has been Makai 922. You do not want to mess with Ichibei. This guy's like, don't say my name lightly. I'll see you guys later. Peace.